Hello, everyone. This is Marty Wuttke of the Wuttke Infinite Potential Institute. And this is the first of our short installments on what we call the pillars of health. And just a brief description of the pillars of health. They cover all of the areas that we can consider as foundations for our body, mind, and spirit to achieve its optimal health. Of course, there's going to be individual differences with all the pillars, and I'll point them out as we go through them all. But for the most part, these are general ideas, general rules that can be applied to just about everybody. So the first pillar is sleep. And sleep may, in fact, be the most important pillar there is to support, because basically everything else depends upon adequate sleep. So the requirements for sleep vary quite a bit depending on age. Obviously, infants and so on need many hours of sleep, and as we get older, the sleep requirements go down. But in general, for adults and adolescents, we say somewhere between 8 and 10 hours. There's a lot of people who operate fairly well on less sleep, but it's not ideal. And I'll say why in a minute. You know, we go through different stages of sleep. I'm sure you've heard of that. And when we go to sleep at a reasonable hour, and I'll explain more about that too, we immediately go into deep, what we call delta sleep, or stage 4. Delta sleep is absolutely essential because in delta sleep, the body secretes certain hormones that are responsible for repair and regeneration of the brain and the whole nervous system. So it's a critical stage that we go through. It varies anywhere between 90 minutes to 2 or maybe even 3 hours in some people, depending upon their daily schedule and how tired they are and how much repair and regeneration their bodies need. But delta sleep is probably the most important factor in the sleep cycle. And the reason is because of what I said. That's when the body secretes growth hormone and various other hormones that are responsible for healing. So it's the other important part about this stage of sleep is it happens early on in the sleep cycle. And, you know, the ideal, according to experts and some various traditions, the ideal is to go to bed before 10 p.m. And the reason for that is because there are other hormonal cycles that start after 10 p.m. And we don't want to, like if, for instance, when you feel like you've got a second wind, and then you're all of a sudden, oh, I'll stay up 2 more hours. That's not a good idea. We should really try to circumvent that second wind and go to sleep at the allotted time. So if we can manage to get to sleep before 10 p.m., that is the ideal time because of the cycles on the planet, sunlight, daytime, and so on. At 10 p.m. we're in the ideal cycle to go into the sleep stage. So you want to make sure those first 2 or 3 hours are completely uninterrupted, because in that delta sleep state, we can be jolted out, and that's not a good thing. There are things, of course, that can inhibit delta sleep. Caffeine, but the number one is alcohol. Alcohol severely affects delta sleep and the other sleep cycles as well. So it's not a good idea to drink alcohol in the evening. If you're going to drink, certainly not every evening, but probably around 4 p.m. is okay, as long as you have 5 or 6 hours for the alcohol to be processed by the liver in the body. So after the stage 4 sleep, that deep sleep where the body rejuvenates itself, we begin to go in and out of REM sleep, dreaming sleep. And that is considered light sleep. But that is also extremely important. Research shows that a deficit of REM sleep will lead to or correlate with problems like depression and anxiety in the daytime. So REM sleep is also crucial. REM tends to occur throughout the night, and we go up and down stage one, stage two. We might wake up occasionally, but generally we should be spending about 20% of the sleep cycle in delta and about 20% in REM as well. And you know, you can measure these sleep cycles. There are some very good wearable devices, and they're not 100% accurate. In fact, sometimes they're really just guessing at the stages. But it can be useful to watch because you get a baseline, and every morning you get a report of you know, how much time you spent in stage four, stage three, stage two, and stage one. And then you can see how various things affect it. Um, Most importantly, alcohol, it really throws the whole cycle off. So, you know, trying to get to bed before 10 if you can, and then also get up before the sun rises. Because as soon as the sun rises and our body spots the sunlight, um, the whole serotonin, melatonin cycle begins. And the early morning sunlight is actually very important, but we want to wake up before that sunlight starts. So if you can get between 8 and 9 hours, according to those guidelines, that's excellent. The other thing about uh, the room or the environment that you're sleeping in, number one, it should be as silent as possible. And I know that's not always possible depending upon where we live in our environment and other people in the house. But the room should be quiet, obviously. And some people use white noise or pink noise, you know, noises, a noise that will block out extraneous sounds, and that's okay. The other critical factor is two things regarding light. What kind of light we let into our eyes before we go to sleep. And now there's different filters for TVs, laptops, and cell phones, because that light, at least up to about an hour before we intend to go to sleep, we should be avoiding any light that's coming from a monitor, electronic light, we call it. You can also get filters, special glasses if you have to work on a computer till you go to bed, but it is not the ideal. It tends to set off or to actually suppress different hormones in the brain. It can suppress melatonin, which is the essential sleep cycle chemical. The other thing is the bedroom, the environment that you're in. Ideally, the temperature should be between 65 and 68 degrees. The body likes that coolness because the core temperature drops, but it requires this coolness so that the heart doesn't have to work overtime to heat the body or to cool the body rather. So the other thing is there's a lot of electronics that we might have in our bedroom, TVs, clocks, light coming from the outside. These should all be minimized as much as possible. And if you can get rid of the light, that would be a very good thing. Because even if your eyes are closed, you are still sensing the light around you. And light around you, especially red light, uh, will tend to throw the body rhythms off. So you know, and if you have to have a clock in the room so you can see what time it is if you wake up or when you need to wake up, that's okay. Just try to put it uh, somewhere where it's not directly shining on you, on your body, or especially on your face. The other critical factor too is that, you know, we're obviously that we're comfortable in bed, that we have the appropriate blankets and sheets and so on that keeps us sort of cozy. The cozier we feel, the better we'll sleep. So one other factor before we go to sleep, avoiding, as I said, caffeine and alcohol, but also avoiding spicy food, and ideally. We should eat at a minimum 4 hours before we try to go to bed. You don't want your stomach and your digestive system having to deal with a big load of food, especially, heavy food. So heavy fat, sugar, dessert's not the greatest idea to have prior to the bedtime. So keeping the body pretty clean, a glass of water before bed, if you don't have a problem with getting up multiple times to urinate, is also a good idea. So after you've gotten your 8 or 9 hours of sleep and you wake up, hopefully refreshed, very good idea to drink a big glass of water, spring water, pure water. And some people will also put a half a lemon in that water, and that helps to cleanse the liver. So longevity experts really endorse that. So that's a good thing. It has amazing effects on digestion and elimination. So when the sun rises, it is a good idea to get outside and to either have that, if it's not too bright, to have that sunlight reflected, and it's important, into the eyes. And by that I mean no lenses, no windows or anything that will filter the light. So for about 20 minutes, we need that early morning light to start the hormonal daily cycle in the brain. And that will actually contribute to any problems. It will help contribute to ameliorating any problems that we might have at sleep 12, 13 hours later. So very good idea to get that early morning sunlight, go for a walk, sit outside. And obviously you're not going to stare directly into the sun, but you just want to get that reflected sunlight. The thing about sleep too, many of us have tried different over-the-counter medications, and some people, prescription medications. And even some of you may have had this experience, even if you take one of those and sleep 10, 11, 12 hours, you still wake up not feeling refreshed. And that can be a problem because some of the medications, some of the over-the-counter drugs can interrupt that sleep cycle and block it. Some of the major sleep medications do that as well. So that's why we recommend a wearable. The best one, there's several of them out there. A good one I know of is called the Oura ring, O-U-R-A. And it's just a ring that you wear. It has special LEDs inside it that are reflecting into your finger and picking up blood flow, and measures breathing rate, blood flow, and sleep cycles. Now, as I said, it's not 100% accurate, but at least you get a baseline for yourself, and then you can watch it. So I highly recommend getting the Oura ring. That will help facilitate your understanding of your sleep cycle. So the other pillars we will get into in different installations of these videos, but this one is probably the most important because this is what everything else depends on. Thank you.